Elizabeth Renicks published two books and is working on her third book, even in the midst of intense caregiving, health challenges, and unexpected setbacks that threatened to derail her writing dreams. But God continued to open doors, showing her the next step. I've worked one on one with Elizabeth, and she's also been part of Christian Book Academy and the Inner Circle. And so I know so many of you will relate to her journey. So I wanted to share her story here. And this was from our live event, the Kingdom Writers Gathering. So I hope that you enjoy this, even though you weren't able to be there live. And let us know in the comments what stood out most to you. If you enjoy this kind of content, make sure to subscribe or share it with a writing friend that you know might need some encouragement as well.
I'm Elizabeth Renicks. I'm from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I was just told I don't sound like it, which I take as a great compliment. Renicks. If you put it into a document, Microsoft Word is going to spell check it to Rednecks. So, I have been a professional writer off and on for 40 years. So my undergraduate degree is in journalism. I worked as a magazine editor for a number of years. I wrote a textbook for an organization that used to be located right up the hill from where we're standing right now. Off and on, I have been a writer gun for hire. Okay, and there's a big difference between that and what we do and what I'm doing now. And so my story about how I got to be here is filled with a lot of ups and downs. Like you might think, oh, well, she's got a degree in journalism and she's been writing for 40 years. But wow. Or she might know something more than I do. Well, let me tell you, no. I know a few things about writing, but I knew nothing about how to do self-publishing, how to get my story out in the world. And so God has taken me on this journey. In 2023, He gave me a very specific and fairly dramatic call that was 10 years later, in 2013, He started planting some seeds of transformation in my life. He asked me to break up with Wonder Woman, which was the persona I tried to inhabit. And He said, there's a better way, and let me show you how to walk in it. He invited me through the pages of Isaiah 30 to return to Him and rest in His strength instead of my capabilities or my ideas of how things should go. And as He was doing this and unveiling things in my life, I kept sensing there's a book in this. There's a couple of books in this. And He kept saying, not yet, not yet, not yet. I was a late in life mom, homeschooling two sons. And so a lot of things went on the shelf for that amazing journey to get to do those things. In 2023, He said, it's time. By this time, thank you, I had been completely, like just I had put it on the shelf. I had moved on. I don't know even how to do that. Like so many fears and objections had piled up, you know, this idea, oh, you should write a book about this. Well, I don't even know how to do that. The publishing world is very different than it was when I was actively working in it. There's this whole digital universe that didn't exist when I got my journalism degree back in 1988. And I had so many objections and so many fears. And so this was this long walk God and I were having in that November. And finally I said, okay, I will do this. I will be obedient. But I don't know how to do any of it. And you're going to have to show me how. And literally the next week, He started opening doors in really dramatic ways. And one of those open doors He took me through led me to being in a Zoom room with Shelley through another coaching mentorship that I had going on and hearing about CBA. And at that point, I had written a Bible study about Isaiah 30, the passage I just mentioned, that if you return and rest, you will find strength and quietness and trust. And I had field tested it and I was ready to go and I had no idea. I was sitting on this Bible study and I had no idea how to get it out anywhere. And something Shelley said was like, I can't even remember what you said in that call, but like somewhere I was like, inside Christian Book Academy is my answer. And so I went ahead and joined. I immediately signed up for the workshop that you did in the January, February, March of the 2025. It was the one on coaching and the 3-month. It was like coaching, courses, and digital products. And that was the world I wanted to work in. And I couldn't finish it because I suddenly was caregiving for my dad, who's 83. Well, he was 83 at the time. He's 85 now. So it had to drop. So this is where the roller coaster started. I've got this Bible study. I've got this equipping happening. And I've got this stuff that's going to make it go on a shelf. And then I had to have my Achilles operated on because of 10 years of running on an injury. And I literally couldn't do anything. I couldn't walk. I stayed in touch with CBA online. I kept trying to get on one of those coffee chats with CJ. Do you guys get those emails? Never could. Got the one that happened 3 days after my Achilles surgery. So I talked to CJ. I had done the little 21-day devotional workshop, I think a month before, and I thought, oh, that's kind of an interesting thing. I could do that. I've got all these blog posts and journals and Instagram things I've put out. I could put that into a devotional. And so I'm sitting on a couch, unable to be weight bearing. I started writing a devotional. And I thought, maybe I could get that Bible study back out and do something, but I don't know. And then a friend of mine called and said, hey, my ladies group is looking for a Bible study. Do you know anybody? Do you know anyone that's got one? And I literally started to recommend something else. And the Holy Spirit was like, you could get yours published by September. Did you just notice that I did this for phone? Like, that dated me. I just realized nobody does this for phone. They do this for phone. Anyway, my friend Sarah called and said, you got a Bible study? I do. So suddenly I'm diving in, deep dive. God had sidelined me. I couldn't walk, but I could get on a computer and work on things. And so I ended up, because of my Progress Pod, reaching out to Katie Erickson, who I finally got to meet in person today, which is such a thrill. And she helped me get that Bible study put together and out the door. And so that came out in August, I think, of 2025. And then that devotional that I thought, CJ just made it sound so easy. Like, you could do this. It's not, and I decided to go for the extra bonus version. It wasn't a 21-day journal. I decided to turn it into 30. And God said, make it the first in a series. And so that's what I am intending to do. But that roller coaster. My dad had a heart attack on December 31st, on New Year's Eve of this last year. I had plans, you guys. I had plans. I had a lined out plan for 2026. I was going to get the book about breaking up with Wonder Woman and the things that God had been showing me in the decade since. That was on the docket. I was signed up for Inner Circle. I'm doing coaching with Shelley. I'm going to get these things out. I'm going to get them out by the middle of the year. And then I'm going to do another devotional. I had plans. And then Dad had a heart attack and couldn't live independently anymore. I've moved him twice in the last 6 months, but I've continued to write newsletters. I got half the book written in the Inner Circle. It's sitting on a shelf now because it's time to shift gears and work on another one. And God is so faithful because I didn't know how to get my stories into the world, the ones that He gave me, like He has given each one of you stories to put into the world. I didn't know how to do that, and I didn't know when I was supposed to do it, but when it was time, He said, go, and I'm going to equip you. And then when the enemy tries to throw the whole toolkit at you to sideline you, God says, I've got a way around it. You might literally be sitting on a couch with your leg in a cast, but you can still work. You might literally be sitting in an ER with your dad after he fell for the 6th time in 4 months, but you can still work on your phone, and you can still write that newsletter, or you can still write that blog. He is so faithful. So the passage, I'll leave you with this, the passage that I have been meditating on a lot in the last few months when I wasn't just caregiving for my dad, but I was also graduating my baby from 12 years of homeschooling and hanging up my homeschooling hat after 20 years. I'm in a season of transition right now, but God knows all about it. He is faithful. And he's bringing me in to the next thing. I might be taking a leap off a lily pad. And that's the thing that resonated with me. I've been in the mud, but the way to stay connected to him and to stay faithful to him, even when you don't feel like anything's working right in your life, is to sit in Psalm 131. Oh Lord, my heart is not lifted up, my eyes are not raised too high. I do not occupy myself with things too great and too marvelous for me, but I have calmed and quieted my soul like a weaned child with its mother. Like a weaned child is my soul within me. And so maybe this isn't your story about why you're here this weekend, but I think that it's coming into view what part of my story about why I'm here this weekend is. It's to be still before I get to leap out into some directions that I've longed to leap out into for a lot of years. God is never late, even though you might think it's too late. And he is never going to leave you on your own. And we're in a room full of people who are connecting with one another and connecting to resources that will allow God to birth each of our stories into the world. So it's such a privilege to just share a little bit about how he's been encouraging me. CBA has been a huge blessing and a huge piece of my story. And I can't wait to see what he does.